So in the past few months, I've periodically made videos about Sword and Shield booster boxes and how there's still tremendous opportunity buying these at the current price points. Especially what makes them more attractive is that all of the new sets right now are very expensive. So when you look at some of these very new sets where the booster boxes are $300, $400 plus dollars, it makes you think, maybe I should go back to Sword and Shield, some out of print stuff that's maybe only a couple $100s more per booster box, and they're still great sets. Maybe there's some opportunity there. So I've brought, investing into Sword and Shield booster boxes here and there, but at this point, if you've been watching my channel for a while now, there's really no point in talking about it because, like, for example, I was buying these boxes when they were under $200. So there's not much to talk about for me, but I like to make these videos for the new people, especially if you're just starting to invest into Pokemon. Now is still a great time to invest into Sword and Shield. Now, how I like to put the current Sword and Shield booster box market and the prices is like this. So about a year to 2 years ago, I was thinking about buying some Sun and Moon booster boxes. For example, at the time, a Team Up booster box, this was about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year. A Team Up booster box was around $2,000. Okay, a Cosmic Eclipse booster box was about $900. Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds, those are maybe what, 600, maybe $700. The other like kind of, I guess, mid Sun and Moon booster boxes like Celestial Storm, Lost Thunder, Ultra Prism, like they're all like $400-$500. They weren't extremely expensive, but at the time, I opted to buy Sword and Shield rather than Sun and Moon because, like, okay, Sword and Shield boxes I can still buy for $150-$200. These Sun and Moon boxes, they're $400, $500, $600, $700, even $800. Like Cosmic was like $900. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna buy those because they're more expensive. I'm gonna buy Sword and Shield. Now, obviously, that wasn't a bad play at all, right? To buy those Sword and Shield boxes because obviously I'm doing pretty good now that I've bought them. But I compared that time where I didn't buy those Sun and Moon boxes, right? And I look at where they're at now, and it seems like the situation is the same for Sword and Shield, where all these boxes right now are $500, $600, $700, $800, $900. A couple of them are above $1,000, but they're all around that price point. And Sword and Shield is a very popular era, and we are seeing, now that I wanted to make this video, a couple of booster boxes that have recently gotten bought out. And it kind of brings up the topic, maybe now isn't really time to wait if you truly want to invest into these booster boxes. I really think, especially with what we've recently seen with Destined Rivals, I truly believe we are getting to a point where possibly, and I predicted this like a few months ago, there is going to be another run for Sword and Shield booster boxes at the end of this year. I don't know exactly when, but sometime before the year ends, there's going to be another massive move for Sword and Shield booster boxes. I truly believe that's going to happen, and based on what we're seeing here with all these buyouts and what we've recently with a couple of these booster boxes from Sword and Shield era, it looks like that's going to happen. So I'm telling you, I truly feel like this is the same situation as what happened, back in, when I was thinking about buying Sun and Moon booster boxes when they were $500 to like $900. It feels like the same opportunity where these, in a couple of years, don't be surprised, which I'm not going to make any price predictions, like exact price predictions, but don't be surprised if these booster boxes you are seeing right now that are $500 to $900, don't be surprised in 2 years. If this market continues to be strong at least for a year, don't be surprised if all of these are in the thousands, because I just feel like the scenario is the exact same, and it could possibly be more exponential depending on how long this market lasts for and how many buyouts we see, because it's happening pretty often now. So just want to go through these Sword and Shield booster boxes. Obviously, I'm not mentioning the first 5 sets. You guys know me. I don't talk about Sword and Shield Base, Rebel Clash, Darkness, Vivid, or Battle Styles. I know they're going up. I know they're like $300-$400 now, but still, I'm not talking about those. These are the ones that are in higher demand, and in my opinion, spending another $100-$200 is worth it to not buy the other boxes. So Chilling Reign right now is at $560, $560 for a Chilling Reign booster box. If you really think about the grand scheme of things, this is very cheap. I know it's all perspective and it's hard to kind of see that $560, that's cheap. But like I said, you put yourself, or at least I put myself back into that moment, back when Sun and Moon boxes, like I said, were like $500, $600, $700, and now they're all above, $1,000, many of them above $2,000. I feel like Chilling Reign is a middle high end set. It's like more, I guess, in the mid high. I think it's pretty accurate to say mid high end. It's not the top set, right? It's not like Fusion. It's not like Lost Origin, Evolving Skies, but it's on the higher end. It's above like Astral. It's maybe above Silver, right? So for $560, I think that's honestly pretty cheap. So Chilling Reign definitely is an option. I would say that, to buy right now, it'd be pretty good. $560 is pretty good for this. Now cases are going for a bit of a premium. Lowest listed right now is $4,000, which comes out to $666. So you're paying $100 premium. So about 20%, 20% premium on each booster box, which, it's up to you if you want to buy the case or not. But the cheapest one is on TCG Player for about $4,000. Everything else on eBay is like mid $4,000. Now next, Evolving Skies. I've literally talked about investing in Evolving Skies booster boxes ever since this box was $700, and it still holds true to this day. Evolving Skies, yes, it's $2,500. Is this possibly not the best investment in terms of percentage gains? Possibly if you're buying at 2,500. The whole argument always is higher price, lower liquidity. It may take longer to double in price than a cheaper booster box, but Evolving Skies is an anomaly of a set. It's extremely popular. This has continuously grown even when the markets were not very good. Evolving Skies will always be somewhat liquid. And Evolving Skies, if you just give an example of like Team Up, which obviously is a bit of a different situation with printing because that set was like lower printed. But Evolving Skies, if that booster box can get to $9,000 to $10,000, Evolving Skies can definitely do that, right? And a period of time which isn't like 10, 20 years later. I wouldn't be surprised if Evolving Skies in, let's say, 5 years is like $10,000. I think that's not even that unreasonable to say. I wouldn't be that surprised if that happened. So therefore, buying a booster box $2,500 to $3,000 really is not that bad. But obviously, you can argue, maybe there's some other better options out there that are not as expensive. But if you wanted an Evolving Skies booster box, maybe you just want to buy one just to have one. I don't think at this price point, I know it sounds crazy, but a few grand where this is like argued to be one of the best sets of all time, I don't think it's out of the realm of talking about it being a good investment. I think it's fine as an investment at this price point. Obviously, maybe more so of a collector's piece. Maybe just buying a couple of them, not maybe buying cases and cases. But yeah, it's definitely not a bad option in my opinion. Now, cases right now are going for about $20,000, which you're paying a bit of a premium. But if you really think about it, it's not like, I guess, terrible. Let's do the math here. 20,000 divided by 6. So you're paying $3,333. So you're paying maybe about a $500 premium on each booster box, which is maybe 20% premium. So it's just like some of the other booster boxes. But buying a case for $20,000, how many people out there got $20,000 to just throw around? Probably not many. Now, if you go on eBay, there is a case here for $17,000. Now, this case has like an eBay tape over the actual case. I don't know if the actual stop tape is cut or not. You guys can do your research. I just saw it here that it has the eBay tape, so you might want to look into that. But everything else is all about as expensive. This one, I guess, just as expensive or a little bit cheaper than the TCG Player one. So yeah, they're about $20,000. Now next here, Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike hasn't made another run up yet. It's been stuck at $1,050 for a while. Fusion Strike was the second booster box to hit over that $1,000 mark. Fusion Strike is a top set. And considering now, you'll see here Lost Origin is pretty close to Fusion Strike. It makes Fusion Strike not as bad of an investment as maybe it was before when Lost Origin, you could have bought them for like, what did they drop to? Like sub 800 or something after they went up and they went down. It's not as big of a difference anymore between Lost and Fusion. So Fusion at this price point at $1,000, I don't think it's a bad investment whatsoever because it's already shown to be an outlier. So you're paying a few $100 more, you get Fusion Strike. It's not a bad option, and the Gengar is obviously very popular. Fusion Strike at $1,000. I don't think this is really any of these are bad investments, but Fusion, even though it is the second most expensive Sword and Shield booster box. I don't think it's a bad investment, and honestly, it's up there for being one of the better ones in my opinion, just because the Gengar is so popular, and Fusion Strike is just an outperformer. So I think in the future it's going to continue to outperform, and paying a few $100s more for this booster box rather than some other ones, if you have the money, I think buying one wouldn't hurt. Now, cases are going for a bit of a premium. Basically, all these Sword and Shield booster boxes have a little bit of a premium, except for Lost Origin, which I'll get to here. So 7,500 divided by 6, so you're paying about a $200 premium for the case. So you can decide if it's worth it for you or not, but you're paying a small premium. Now, on eBay, it's like all these, not any cheaper. Everything on TCG Player is cheaper for the cases, at least from what I've seen. Now, next year, Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars recently, 7 boxes sold a few days ago, but they're still in the mid 500s. Honestly, I feel like Brilliant Stars, I mean, looking at what's happened to some of these other boxes, it's going to go up at some point here to, it was around 600 and it dropped a little bit. Just the boxes for Sword and Shield dropped a little bit before some of them just recently got bought out. Brilliant and mid 500s. This is a pretty good buy in my opinion. I know, it's the exact same price as Chilling, so you'd have to argue, is Chilling or Brilliant a better buy? Chilling is a deeper set, has more chases, but Brilliant has a Charizard, has evolutions, and that's sort of the argument with Brilliant Stars. I personally, I know maybe it's a hot take, I like Brilliant better than Chilling, even though it doesn't have as many chases. I just like it better with the quality of the cards in the set. I just personally like it better, but in the $550, I think this is pretty cheap for this booster box. Now, the cases are also going for a bit of a premium. $4,000. So when you do the math, 4,000 divided by 6, you're paying $666. So basically around the same premium as Chilling Reign, if I remember correctly. So yeah, you're paying about a $100 premium on each booster box. Now, same thing with all these other ones. eBay, I guess this one's a bit cheaper. It's like $200 cheaper than the one on TCG Player. So there's that. Now, next year, not much to say. Astral, out of all these booster boxes, is my least favorite. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend buying Astral. I'd rather, if you had the money, obviously, I'd rather spend another $150 more and buy Chilling or Brilliant over Astral. Astral is just an underperformer. Yeah, could there be a time where this outperforms the other ones? Sure, but when you actually look at this set, I mean, it's just not that popular. Machamp, it does have the Starmie, but overall, it just is not that sought after compared to the other ones. Even though this set really did not get a booster box reprint, I think, compared to some of the other ones. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't believe it got a reprint, or at least any major one, like some of them did. It's still underperforming, and at this point, I feel like if we were gonna see any, possible like outbreak of this being a sleeper set, I think we would have seen it at this point in the market, and we're just not seeing it. So Astral, you are getting a small discount, but there are more popular, higher demand sets that are like $100 more a booster box. And personally, with me, I'd rather pay $100 more for a more sought after product than this, just because it's like $100 cheaper. But nonetheless, it's still not a bad investment. It's just not as liquid, and it's just not as popular. Now, cases are also still, even though this is not that popular, it's still going for a premium. So doing the math here, 33.58 divided by 6 is $559. So you're paying a $130 premium on each booster box. So quite a bit for Astral Radiance. I don't know if I'd recommend buying the case. You're paying that much of a premium. Now, basically the same thing for all these. Like I said, they're basically the exact same, or not the exact same, but a little bit more expensive on eBay compared to TCG Player. Now, here are the two booster boxes that have recently got bought out. Lost Origin, you can see 20 boxes sold a few days ago, and 20 boxes that sold brought prices all the way from $800 all the way down to $900. Now, at $900, I still think Lost Origin is still a pretty good buy. Lost Origin is a top set, and I really see Lost Origin, that Giratina, it has a bright future. And Lost Origin, really, if you think about it, is only, I believe, 3 years old. It was 2022 when it got released, I believe. So it's not that old. And it's, I just see this I could see this being thousands and thousands of dollars in, 3 to 5 years. So, yeah, I still think Lost Origin is a good buy at this price point. And it might be hitting a grain here soon. If we see another buyout, you can see there's maybe about 10 boxes before it's $1,000. So Lost Origin is probably going to be the next booster box to hit $1,000. Now, you can see cases. This is the one where, there is no case premium, at least for right now. You see there's a couple of cases listed for $5,900. If you actually do the math on that, 5,900 divided by 6, you're paying, I guess there's a little bit of premium, $983. So you're paying about an $89 premium on each booster box. But when you consider the actual full price of each booster box, that's only about a 10% premium. So it may be worth paying just a 10% premium on Lost Origin booster box cases, because in my opinion, if you're paying like a 20% or under premium, it's not terrible. But once you get to that crazy mark of like, okay, it's 50%, then you're kind of gambling, okay, because at this point, case markets are more niche because there's not as many out there. But a 10% premium, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, is not that much. So it might be worth just buying a case. Now, if you go on eBay, you'll see, I guess there's one case here listed for $5,000. I didn't click on this. You guys can check to see if this is a reputable seller or not. I'm guessing it hasn't sold yet. Maybe it's not, and there's 11 watchers. Now, lastly here, Silver Tempest. Surprisingly, this booster box got bought out, 18 booster boxes. And when I say buyouts, obviously relative, because 18 booster boxes in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot. But it was at $488. Now it's almost $600. This is more expensive now than Brilliant and Chilling Reign. So pretty surprising stuff. But the Lugia, I'm telling you, this is what I've been talking about. I remember, if you guys remember, I was literally making videos every single week, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, talking about Silver Tempest booster boxes on Pokemon Center. Who was there for that? MSRP was $143, and you see what it's at now. You guys do the math. It was like the no-brainer buy. Lugia, I saw a bright future, and hopefully you guys did too, because now they're almost $600. Now cases are going for $4,000. So forget the math on that, whatever it was. Let's see, 4,000 divided by 6. You're paying $666, so about $100 more, kind of the same as, Chilling Reign and what was the other one? Chilling Reign and Brilliant. Now, you go on eBay, pretty much the same thing as all these other ones. The cheapest option is TCG Player. So I just want to show you guys, there's opportunity in Sword and Shield still. I'll keep talking about it. Really, these anywhere for $500 to $1,000, these are still great opportunities. I truly see this in the same light as, like I said, when I was thinking about buying Sun and Moon boxes when they were around the same price as Sword and Shield booster boxes are now. I think it's going to be the same thing in a couple years. A lot of these are probably going to be in the thousands, and $500, $1,000 is going to look pretty cheap. And now that we're seeing a bunch of buyouts for ultra modern, like all these brand new sets destined, and some of these other ones that we've seen recently, I feel like people are going to go back to Sword and Shield, people that are looking to invest. And I truly believe right now, since the Sword and Shield market, other than those two like small buyouts, the market is pretty dormant. I feel like this is a chance to go back and buy, especially if you're a new investor and you haven't invested into any Sword and Shield stuff. I feel like there's great opportunity. My favorites, I think Brilliant is a good one. Chilling, Silver isn't even fine. Lost Origin, I feel like, is a pretty good one. If you want a more higher end, Lost Origin, Fusion is pretty good, and even Evolving is fine. But Lost and Fusion, in my opinion, are the higher end ones, which I think are still worth buying. But that's just my opinion. Sword and Shield, we'll see when, because I truly believe at some time at the end of this year, we're going to see another big run up for a lot of these boxes. But right now the market's dormant. But I feel like it's just a matter of time before we see that happening. So that's all I want to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.